One thing I'm pretty open and outspoken about is my disdain of large companies doing Kickstarters. Things like the Atari box that's going to be coming out is going to be a crowdfunded thing. I don't like that. Shenmue 3, I don't like that. Mighty Number 9, no, I don't like that. That's sort of not what Kickstarter is all about. Kickstarter to me should be for small companies, independent companies, companies that you may have never heard of, companies that obviously do not have a big bankroll, do not have a source of income other than what they are doing by putting their product on Kickstarter. What you're doing is you're ensuring that the product happens. With these bigger companies, I always feel there's something, disingenuous behind it. There's always some ulterior motive for why they're going to Kickstarter. And unfortunately, a lot of people end up getting disappointed with these bigger Kickstarter projects, but you don't really hear it too much on the smaller scope of things. So today, I want to spotlight two Kickstarter campaigns that are currently going on right now, and they're definitely different ends of the spectrum. The first one is a Kickstarter campaign from Wisdom Tree, which is Pico Interactive, and they're doing some interesting things. And the second Kickstarter campaign is from people you've never heard of. But what they're trying to do is, they're trying to make the Raspberry Pi, the RetroPi killer. And that's obviously what's in the title. That's probably why you clicked this video. So let's get into these two Kickstarter projects, the Wisdom Tree projects and the Dreamcade replay, the RetroPi killer. All right, so sort of the appetizer here, the breadsticks and the soup to this video is the Noah's Ark stuff for the NES and Sega Genesis from Wisdom Tree. Wisdom Tree is of course owned by Pico Interactive now, but I've actually done a Wisdom Tree project before on Kickstarter, the Arcade, which was a plug-and-play NES controller with all of the classic Bible games for the NES on them. And Wisdom Tree is doing a couple different things. We'll go over them real quick. But as you can see, they are looking for $30,000. They've got about $10,000 right now with about 19 days to go. So it's definitely feasible that this could become a reality. So there's three different components to this Kickstarter campaign, three different things that you can get with it. The first one is the Wisdom Tree game collection for the Game Boy Advance, which obviously has all of the NES Wisdom Tree games all on one Game Boy Advance title. So that's pretty cool. Spiritual Warfare is actually a really good game. The other games, they're hit and miss in quality, but it's sort of a nostalgia thing with that. Another thing they're doing is Noah's Ark on the NES. Now, as you can see, this was a run and gun game published by Konami in Europe only. So it actually looks pretty cool. I'll put some gameplay of it on the screen of the PAL version of the game. It's definitely more Contra than it is, Jesus. So it's something I think looks really fun. It looks really cool. They said that they're going to improve some of the stuff on it, such as the frame rate. Obviously, the game runs a little bit slow since it is a PAL 50 megahertz game, and NTSC games are 60 megahertz. And you also have a camera that they wanted to fix and some underwater levels, which could be really tricky. But the game looks phenomenal, in my opinion. So really looking forward to that. Now, this is the most interesting thing of the Kickstarter campaign, and that's the Super Noah's Ark, or Super 3D Noah's Ark for the Sega Genesis. Now, obviously, if you know the story of this game, id Software, the rumor is, I don't know if it's ever been confirmed, is that they they gave the source code for Doom and Wolfenstein to Wisdom Tree at the time to make this game because they were upset with the censorship that Nintendo had done on those versions of the game for the Super Nintendo. Now, on the Genesis spectrum, as far as first-person shooters go, you had Zero Tolerance, which was an awesome game, and you had Duke Nukem 3D, which released only in Brazil, which was a tech toy game. So it'll be interesting to see Super 3D Noah's Ark on the Sega Genesis, and if that leads to possibly, Wolfenstein and Doom coming to the Sega Genesis via ports. They do say that the proof of concept is 95% done. I have actually a ROM of the engine, and it runs pretty smooth. It runs pretty well, so it's definitely something I think they'll have no problem doing. There are also some stretch goals here, but we'll look at basically the main things. If you want the Super Noah's Ark 3D for the Genesis, I say that a different way every time. 55 bucks, you get a digital bundle reward, which comes with some games, and the CIB complete in box version of the game. For the Noah's Ark NES, it'll be $50, and the Wisdom Tree, it's $40. So pretty cool little project. Just wanted to bring it to your guys' attention, but this is definitely the breadsticks in the soup of the video the main project I want to talk about is the Dreamcade replay, because this is really interesting to me. Now, I'll be honest with you guys. When I had this brought to my attention from my buddy Jerry at Embraceware, who is a great guy, by the way. He did Pat the NES Punk's his book, the online application for your cell phone. So definitely check out Embraceware. Shout outs to Jerry. Been a long time supporter of the channel. When I first saw this though, I thought this was Dreamcast replay, and I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna have such an easy time doing this video. People, Dreamcast is back and all this stuff, but obviously it's called the Dreamcade replay, which is probably smart. You don't want to use that Dreamcast name. One console to rule them all. So I know what you're thinking. It's obviously a RetroPi Raspberry Pi system, but what's interesting about this is that it's not. I will get back to this stuff up here, but I wanted to show you this. It is 200% faster than any Raspberry Pi currently on the market, which is very important because this system will play N64 and PlayStation stuff. So right then and there, you know what you're getting. You're getting something that's going to be able to run these games much better on your television. What else is interesting about it is it's basically a mini computer. That is right. This runs on Windows 10 and it has, an Intel processor. It's got 4 gigs of RAM. There's the Windows 10 Bluetooth stuff for your controllers, networking, and expansion slots, so you can add more, hardware, or you can add more ROMs via an SD card onto your thing. So that's pretty cool to me. So this is basically almost like a mini computer with the thought of video games in mind. That also means you can run other applications on it, such as right here perfectly, Netflix, Twitch, Hulu, Amazon, YouTube, which is great because you can watch me on your TV in another way. All sorts of stuff. So it's actually pretty cool, honestly. That's a really cool feature, but none of this matters because we got to talk about video games. So let's take a look at the Dreamcade replay. It's very cheap, honestly. These are the different pricing structures, and basically what this is sort of like an interface based on some hardware. So you plug it in, you set everything up, and then it comes with preloaded games. So pre-installed games, you have your classics, Asteroid, Centipede, basically games that are free license games that nobody really has a claim to anymore via different things. Here is the systems it supports out of the box. Good stuff here: N64, SNES, NES, Genesis, Game Gear, Atari, stuff like that. And you'll be able, and it's an open system, so you can add extra emulators and whatnot. So it's sort of future-proof, which I think is a good thing to have, because you never know, who's going to make a new emulator, or what sort of breakthrough is going to be done. And since this runs on Windows 10, it really works. You can adjust things to, as long as it's running on the Windows 10 operating system, everything will be compatible. So that's really cool to me. Here's what the system looks like. This is the different versions that you can get. Honestly, I'm not a huge fan of the way the system looks. I don't know why they went with this sort of Atari look. Maybe because of the Atari box situation that's going on right now. I didn't grow up in the wood grain era. I don't know many people that will be picking this up that did grow up in the wood grain era, but to each their own. It's all just it's subjective anyways. But basically with the way the interface works, it's pretty clean. You can add ROMs on the fly, it looks like. You'll be able to search for ROMs via a secure Google server that they have and add ROMs to the system at just like a click of a button. You can also go to things like the Internet Arcade, so they're streaming stuff on here. Services that have preservation of old games and old arcade games, open software stuff, freeware stuff. You can add and stream all that from this device. So that's really cool too. And since it's running on Windows 10, it'll run the games really well. And there's also, this is pretty crazy. So you can add your cartridge titles to the system via a cell phone app. You take a picture of the cartridge, it recognizes the cartridge, and then it adds that game to your system. So you can essentially, If you don't want to do, like a whole bulk, I mean, obviously people are going to do whole bulk, ROM downloads of complete systems. That's what I have on my original Xbox. If you just want to do it sort of, an old school way, I think that's a really cool thing. That's a really cool addition to me. And since it is Bluetooth, you can add any controller. As you can see here, they have the SNES 30, or no, not the SNES 30, but I mean, it'll work with the SNES 30. All the 8-bit DOE controllers that are so awesome, and I love them all to death. Since they're all Bluetooth, you can add up to 4 controllers. It recognizes over 100 gamepads. Constant improvements. This thing is very interesting to me. And you might be saying to yourself, well, you hate the RetroPi. I don't hate the RetroPi. It's more of a tongue-in-cheek joke, because whenever I talk about a system, people always bring up RetroPi. So, to me, it's just become a joke. Like, the RetroPi is fine. I think they're awesome. I have friends with them. I have, they're good things. But this seems to be sort of an evolution of that. This seems to be the next big thing. And since it is 99 bucks, bring your own controller, 129 with 1 controller, 159 with 2 controllers, they've already hit their goal. They hit their goal in a day. Like, this is pretty legit. No one's really talking about it on YouTube either. So I wanted to give these guys a little spotlight. I wanted to give these guys a little shine. The only concerns I have with this system are licensing issues. I'm sort of afraid that by saying, this will work with the N64, this will work with, the NES, Sega Genesis, and Sony PlayStation, and things like that, they may run into some licensing issues. I hope that they, looked at everything from a legal standpoint before making this, because I think this is a really positive project. Now, I am interested in it for sure. I wish them the best, and I just wanted to bring it to your guys' attention because, this could be something really cool. It could be something really interesting and unique. So yeah, those are the 2 Kickstarter projects I wanted to talk about today. Let me know what you think about both of these in the comments section down below. Thank you for checking out this video. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit that like button. And as always, I will catch you guys next time. Later.
RGT, NA5, RGT, NA5. RGT, NA5, RGT, NA5.